At my mother's funeral reception, my brother lifted a paper cup of coffee like it was a champagne glass and said, "Some of us were there every single day." The fellowship hall went quiet in that soft, respectful way people do after a burial, when nobody wants to be the first one to move a chair or scrape a plate. My brother Evan stood beside the photo board with his black suit jacket open and his tie loosened just enough to look exhausted. My sister Lauren dabbed at the corner of her eye with a tissue she had been holding for an hour. Behind them, the slideshow kept cycling through pictures of my mother in better years, laughing at the county fair, planting tulips, holding my niece as a baby, smiling beside the lake before the tremor in her hand became the first sign of everything we would lose. I stood near the coffee urn, with a tray of half-eaten lemon bars in my hands. Nobody was looking at me. That had been the family arrangement for 3 years. I handled the pills, the appointments, the insurance denials, the midnight falls, the pharmacy calls, the shower chair, the hospital discharge forms, the soft food, the clean sheets, the oxygen tubing, and the terror of watching a woman disappear in pieces. Evan handled speeches. Lauren handled photos. And Mom, near the end, handled the truth in the only way she still could. She asked me to write things down, every appointment, every dose, every skipped visit, every promise my siblings made and forgot by Friday. I kept the gray binder because Mom said, "Mara, when I'm gone, they'll tell it wrong." I hated that she was right. Evan looked out across the room full of church friends, neighbors, cousins, and people from my mother's old library group. "We all did our part," he said, "but I think Mom knew who really showed up." Lauren lowered her face. A few people murmured in sympathy. My Aunt Bate looked toward me, then looked away. Evan continued, "I don't want a day to be about conflict. Mom wouldn't want that. She'd want us to remember that her children came together." I set the tray down. My hands were steady. That surprised me. Inside my black tote bag, under the folded funeral program and the extra packet of tissues I never used, was the gray caregiver binder. 642 dated entries, pharmacy receipts, hospital visitor logs, text messages printed in clean black ink, a copy of the funeral invoice with my debit card receipt stapled to it. I did not bring it because I wanted a fight at my mother's funeral. I brought it because I knew my brother. And because my mother, 3 weeks before she died, had pressed her thin hand over mine and whispered, "Don't let them make you disappear too." For most of my life, Evan was the son who had potential, Lauren was the daughter who brought light, and I was the dependable one. Dependable sounds like praise until you realize it means people have stopped asking whether you are tired. I was 38 when Mom's health broke open. She had always been organized. Her bills were filed by month, her spice jars were alphabetized, and she kept birthday cards in a drawer labeled by family. When she started missing appointments and putting the electric bill in the freezer, Evan told me not to panic. "She's getting older," he said. "Don't make it dramatic." Lauren said, "I think she just needs positive energy." Positive energy did not stop Mom from leaving a burner on for 2 hours. The first neurologist appointment was on a rainy Tuesday in March. Evan said he had a client meeting. Lauren said school pickup was complicated. I took half a vacation day from my job as a medical billing coordinator and drove Mom 40 minutes to a clinic with beige carpet and old magazines. The doctor used words like progressive, support, and safety planning. Mom stared at her purse. In the parking lot, she said, "Don't tell your brother yet. He'll turn it into a business meeting." I smiled because I thought she was joking. She was. That night, I made a shared calendar called Mom Care. I invited Evan and Lauren. I color-coded appointments, refill dates, grocery days, physical therapy, trash pickup, and reminders to check the mail. Evan accepted the invitation and never added anything. Lauren replied with 3 heart emojis and wrote, "We got this." By the second month, we meant me. I set up automatic prescription refills. I installed a camera facing the stove, not because I wanted to watch my mother, but because I wanted to sleep. I arranged a home safety evaluation. I argued with insurance about a walker. I learned which nurse at the clinic returned calls fastest and which pharmacy tech would quietly check the discount card twice. Every time I asked Evan to take one Saturday, he said, "Send me what needs to be done." I sent lists. He said the lists were overwhelming. Every time I asked Lauren to sit with Mom during an appointment, she said, "I can't handle medical stuff." So I handled medical stuff. Then I handled legal stuff. Then I handled the house. Then I handled the loneliness that grows when your phone is full of people asking for updates, but empty of people offering help. The first warning sign that my siblings were rewriting the story came at Mom's 71st birthday lunch. It was at a little Italian place with red vinyl booths. Mom was still well enough to enjoy the noise, though she asked 3 times why the waiter had not brought bread after the bread was already on the table. Evan arrived 20 minutes late with a bouquet from a grocery store. Lauren brought balloons and took pictures. I had spent the morning getting Mom dressed, washing her hair at the kitchen sink because the shower frightened her, and convincing her that the restaurant was not a dentist's office. I had also paid the deposit for the private room because Lauren said she would Venmo later and then forgot. During dessert, Lauren posted a photo with the caption, "Celebrating Mom with the best care team a girl could ask for." In the picture, Evan had his arm around Mom. Lauren leaned on her shoulder. I was half visible behind a pitcher of iced tea, reaching for Mom's napkin because sauce had fallen on her blouse. I did not comment. That night, Mom stared at the photo on my phone and said, "You're not really in it." "It's okay." "No," she said slowly, "it's not." A week later, she asked me for a notebook. "If I forget," she said, "write what happened." "What do you mean?" She tapped the table with 2 fingers. Her nails were unpainted, clipped short because polish confused her. "Just write, you're good at that." So I bought a gray 3-ring binder. At first it was practical: date, time, medication, food, mood, appointment, expense, who visited, who called, notes. March 14, neurology follow-up, Mara transported, Evan no response. Lauren texted thinking of her. March 22, pharmacy pickup, $143.28, Mara paid. Lauren said she would bring soup, did not come. April 3, fall in bathroom, no injury. Called Evan 9:18 p.m. voicemail. Called Lauren 9:21 p.m. no answer. Mara stayed overnight. The binder was not revenge then. It was memory. Mom declined in seasons. Summer was confusion. Fall was suspicion. Winter was fear. She accused me of stealing her keys when I had hidden them because she tried to drive to the bank at midnight. She cried when I removed the knobs from the stove. She called me by my aunt's name and then apologized as if she had broken a plate. She slept in a recliner because the bed felt too far from the floor. I slept on the couch twice a week and worked full shifts with the taste of burnt coffee in my mouth. Evan lived 12 minutes away. Lauren lived 8. They were busy. Evan's business was always at a turning point. Lauren's kids always had tournaments, recitals, projects, sniffles, feelings. I loved my niece and nephew, but after a while I noticed that everyone's emergency was real except mine. At Christmas, Lauren posted another photo. She had come by for 45 minutes with matching pajamas and a tray of cookies. Mom was having a clear hour, smiling with powdered sugar on her lip. Caption, "Making memories with Mom. Caregiving is love in action." I saw it at 11:40 p.m. while changing Mom's sheets because the new medication upset her stomach. I texted Lauren, "Please don't use the word caregiving unless you're actually taking shifts." She replied the next morning, "Wow, I was just trying to honor Mom. You don't have to be so bitter." Evan texted separately, "Can we not start drama? It's Christmas." That was the year I stopped asking them to understand. Instead, I got more organized. I put receipts in plastic sleeves. I printed emails. I saved screenshots. I asked hospital registration for visitor logs because Evan told relatives he had spent nights there. when the only night he came was the night Mom was admitted, and he left before the IV was placed because parking was expensive. The woman at the hospital desk said, "Are you sure you need these?" I said, "I'm her medical contact." She printed them without another question. In May, Mom had a lucid afternoon. She was sitting in the recliner by the front window, watching two boys ride bikes too close to the curb. Her hands rested on a blanket I had washed so many times the blue flowers had faded into shadows. "Where, Evan?" she asked. "At work." "Where's Lauren?" "With the kids." She nodded. "And where are you?" "Right here." Her eyes filled, but she did not cry. "That's the part they'll forget." I sat beside her. "I don't need them punished," she said. "I just don't want you blamed." "Blamed for what?" "For being the only one left in the room." That sentence stayed with me. 2 months later, we met with her attorney. It was not dramatic. No dark wooden office. No secret envelope. Just a strip mall law firm between a tax preparer and a nail salon. Mom wore a cardigan with pearl buttons and asked twice if we were going to the dentist. The attorney, Ms. Givens, had known my mother from a library board committee years earlier. She spoke slowly and kindly. Mom had enough capacity that day to state what she wanted. She wanted me as medical power of attorney. She wanted me as executor. She wanted her modest life insurance to reimburse caregiving costs first, funeral costs second, and whatever remained split equally between the three of us. I said, "Mom, no, split it evenly. I don't want them saying I took anything." She looked at me with a sharpness I had not seen in months. "They already say things," she said. Ms. Givens made notes. Mom also asked for a letter. Not legal exactly, personal. Ms. Givens said she could keep it with the file. Mom dictated it in pieces. "My daughter Mara has been my primary caregiver. She has missed work, paid expenses, managed my medical care, and protected my dignity. If anyone claims otherwise after I am gone, they are not telling the truth." Mom stopped there because she was tired. I sat in the parking lot afterward and cried with the engine running. Not because the letter was beautiful. Because she knew. The final decline came fast. A fall in September, pneumonia in October, a hospital bed in the living room by Thanksgiving, hospice by December. Hospice was both mercy and paperwork. A nurse named Carla came twice a week and called me the daughter with the binder. She said it kindly. She said organized families usually fought less, then paused like she knew that was not always true. Evan visited on the first hospice day. He stood by the bed and said, "Hey, Mom, it's Ev," in a voice too loud for the room. Mom opened her eyes and smiled vaguely. He took a selfie with her hand in his. I saw it online later. Caption, "Walking this road with Mom. Family is everything." I did not text him. I printed the post and put it in the binder behind the visitor log for that day. Visit length, 18 minutes. Lauren came the next Sunday with her kids. They stayed in the kitchen because the hospital bed scared them. Lauren cried into my shoulder and said, "I don't know how you do this." I almost said, "You never tried." Instead, I said, "She likes when people read to her." Lauren nodded. She did not read. Mom died on a Thursday morning just after 6. I was holding her hand. The hospice nurse had told me the breathing would change, but no one can prepare you for the moment a room becomes permanently quiet. I called Evan first. He said, "I have a 9 o'clock. Can you handle the initial stuff?" I said, "She's gone." He was silent for 2 seconds. "I know, I just mean the calls." So I handled the calls. I called hospice. I called the funeral home. I called Lauren. I called Aunt Bate. I found the green dress Mom wanted buried in because she had written it on a sticky note 2 years earlier and tucked it into her Bible. Lauren arrived at noon and cried in the driveway. Evan arrived at 2 and asked if there was coffee. The funeral planning meeting was on Friday. Evan wanted the largest package. "Mom deserves dignity," he said. The funeral director looked at me because I was the one with the checkbook and documents. I said she wanted simple. Service, burial, reception. No limousine, no upgraded casket. Evan gave a soft laugh. Mara, this isn't the time to be cheap. I looked at him for a long second. Then I opened my binder to the page, marked funeral preferences, and slid over Mom's handwriting. Simple, green dress. Him, be thou my vision. Lemon bars if church ladies ask. The funeral director nodded. Lauren whispered, she wrote lemon bars. I said, yes. I paid the deposit. Evan said he would settle up after the life insurance was processed. Lauren said, same. I wrote that down too. The morning of the funeral was cold and bright. I dressed in a navy wool coat because Mom liked navy better than black. I wore small silver earrings and flat shoes. In my tote bag were tissues, lip balm, the checkbook, a copy of the funeral schedule, and the gray binder. The service itself was gentle. Pastor Raymond talked about Mom's years at the library, her peach cobbler, her habit of underlining sentences in books and pretending she didn't. He did not pretend her illness was noble. I was grateful for that. Illness is not noble. It is work and fear and tiny losses stacked on each other until the person you love becomes someone you are losing every day. At the graveside, Evan held Lauren while she cried. I stood on the other side of the casket and watched my breath disappear in the cold. Aunt Bates squeezed my hand. Afterward, everyone drove to the church fellowship hall. The women's committee had set out sandwiches, coffee, fruit trays, and lemon bars. Mom would have liked that. She would also have noticed that the tablecloths were crooked. I spent the first 20 minutes answering questions. Yes, hospice had been kind. Yes, Mom went peacefully. Yes, the dress was the one she wanted. No, we did not need more food. Evan stood near the photo board, accepting hugs. Lauren told 3 different people how hard the caregiving journey had been on the family. I poured coffee. Then Evan tapped a spoon against his cup. I looked up. Can I say something? He asked the room. Nobody says no at a funeral reception. He stood under the bulletin board, where children's Sunday school art was pinned beside a sign-up sheet for the winter coat drive. I just want to thank everyone, he began. Mom loved this community. She loved her family. These last few years were hard on all of us. That much was true. He looked at Lauren. She nodded. Some of us were there every single day, he said. Some of us had to make decisions nobody saw. Some of us had to carry the emotional burden. My throat tightened, not from grief this time. From recognition. This was the birthday lunch again, the Christmas post again, the selfie by the hospice bed again, the story they could tell because I was too tired to argue. Evan's voice softened. I'm proud that when Mom needed us, her children came together. Aunt Bates turned toward me. Pastor Raymond looked down at his coffee. Evan continued, and now, as a family, we'll make sure her wishes are honored. We'll handle the estate together in the spirit Mom wanted. There it was. Not only credit, control. I could have let it pass. That was the old instinct. Let today be peaceful. Let people eat lemon bars. Let the lie stand one more hour because grief is already heavy. Then I remembered Mom's hand on mine. Don't let them make you disappear too. I set my cup down. Evan, I said. He smiled, still in performance. Yeah. Mom named an executor. He blinked. We can talk about that later. You brought it up now. The room shifted, not loudly. People just became still. Lauren whispered, Mara, don't. I picked up my tote bag from the chair beside me. Evan's expression hardened in a way most people would miss. I did not. I'm trying to honor Mom, he said. So am I. I pulled out the gray binder. It was not dramatic. No gasp, no music, just a 3-ring binder with a cracked plastic cover and a label that said Care Notes, Mara Ellis. Evan looked at it like it was a weapon. Maybe it was. Not the kind that hurts. The kind that ends a story someone else has been telling. I walked to the table near Pastor Raymond and Aunt Bate, not the front of the room. I did not want a stage. I wanted witnesses. "I'm going to correct one thing," I said. "Then we can all go back to remembering Mom." My voice did not shake. That felt like a gift from somewhere outside me. "Mom's care was not handled equally," I said. "That's not an accusation, it's a record." Lauren covered her face. "Oh my God." I opened to the first tab. This binder has 642 dated care entries from March of 2022 through last Thursday. Medication schedules, appointments, overnight stays, expenses, hospital visits, hospice notes, and who was present. Evan laughed once. "You kept a diary on us." "No, I kept care records for Mom." "That is obsessive." Pastor Raymond said gently, "Let her finish." Evan looked betrayed that the pastor had not rescued him. I turned to the hospital tab. This is the visitor log from Riverside Medical Center during Mom's October admission. I was there 8 of 9 days. Aunt Bate came twice. Lauren came once for 32 minutes. Evan came once for 18 minutes. Lauren whispered, "I had the kids." "I know," I said. "That's written here too." Evan stepped forward. "This is completely inappropriate." So was calling yourself her caregiver at her funeral reception. He flushed. I turned to the expense tab. These are pharmacy receipts, equipment receipts, grocery receipts, and funeral deposit receipts. Total unreimbursed care-related expenses, $21,680. Funeral deposit paid by me, $4,200. A cousin near the sandwich table muttered, "Jesus." I did not look over. Lauren said, "We said we would pay you back." "You said it 3 days ago. The first receipt is from 3 years ago." Evan pointed at the binder. "Nobody asked you to martyr yourself." That one almost got through. Because there is always a moment, even when you have proof, when the old family role reaches for your throat. I looked at him and said, "I begged you to take Thursdays." He looked away. I turned to the text message tab. May 6th, I asked Evan to take Mom to neurology because I had a payroll audit. He replied, "I can't lose a client over this." June 11th, I asked Lauren to stay overnight because Mom had fallen twice in 1 week. She replied, "I can't expose the kids to that energy." August 3rd, I asked both of you to attend the care planning meeting. Neither of you came. Lauren started crying harder. Aunt Bate put one hand over her mouth. Evan said, "You're cherry-picking." I nodded. "That's why there are 642 entries." Nobody laughed. That made the sentence heavier. Then I opened the final tab. This is Mom's letter, witnessed and kept by her attorney. Evan went pale. I had not expected that. So he knew there might be something. I read only the part that mattered. My daughter Mara has been my primary caregiver. She has missed work, paid expenses, managed my medical care, and protected my dignity. If anyone claims otherwise after I am gone, they are not telling the truth. The room was so quiet, I could hear the coffee machine click off. I closed the binder. "Mom named me executor," I said. "Her attorney has the documents. Her life insurance reimburses documented care expenses and funeral costs first, then the remainder is split as she directed. I did not write that." Mom did. Evan's mouth opened, but no words came. Lauren sat down like her knees had given up. I turned to the room. "I'm sorry this had to happen here," I said, "but I will not let her funeral become another place where my work disappears." Then I picked up my cup of coffee, even though it had gone cold. Pastor Raymond was the first to speak. "Thank you, Mara," he said softly, "for caring for Evelyn. Not for the binder. Not for the correction. For caring." That was the sentence I needed, and it nearly broke me. Aunt Bate stood and came to my side. "I knew some," she said, "not all. I didn't tell all. I wish you had. I didn't know how." She nodded like that was an answer she understood. The reception did not explode. Real life rarely does. People did not clap. Nobody shouted. Nobody threw food. They simply knew where to look now. Some looked at Evan. Some looked at Lauren. Most looked away because truth can feel rude when it arrives at a table where people came for comfort. Evan left 15 minutes later. Lauren stayed, but she stopped talking about the caregiving journey. That evening, I went home to Mom's house, which was no longer Mom's house in the way that mattered. The hospital bed had been removed. The recliner still faced the window. A bottle of lotion sat on the side table. Her reading glasses were folded beside a book she had not been able to follow for months. I sat in the chair, where she used to sit, and placed the binder on my lap. For 3 years, that binder had meant responsibility. That night, it meant release. My phone buzzed at 8:32. Evan, you humiliated us in front of everyone. I looked at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I wrote, you used Mom's funeral to take credit for care you did not give. He replied instantly, this is about money. It always is with you. I wrote, no, the money is documented. This is about the lie. He did not answer. Lauren texted at 9:10. I didn't know Mom wrote that letter. I replied. Neither did Evan, apparently. She wrote, I'm sorry. I waited for more. More did not come. Sorry is a small word. Sometimes it is a door. Sometimes it is just a mat people put down so they can wipe their shoes before walking into the same behavior. I did not open the door. The attorney meeting was the following Thursday. Ms. Givens had everything in a blue folder. She hugged me first, briefly, then shook Evan's hand when he arrived 10 minutes late. Lauren came in sunglasses and held a bottle of water with both hands. The office smelled like paper and lemon disinfectant. Ms. Givens explained the estate. Mom did not have much: a small life insurance policy, a checking account, a 10-year-old car, the house still with a mortgage but some equity, personal belongings. Evan interrupted twice before she finished. I'm the oldest, he said the second time. I should at least be co-executor. Ms. Givens looked over her glasses. Your mother was clear. She wasn't always clear near the end. She was evaluated on the date she signed. I documented capacity. He leaned back. Lauren asked, so Mara gets reimbursed before anything is split? Ms. Givens said, documented care expenses and funeral costs, yes. That was your mother's instruction. Evan laughed under his breath. Convenient. I opened the binder and placed copies of the receipts on the table. Ms. Givens did not even look surprised. Thank you, Mara. Evan stared at the stack. You really brought it again. I bring records to record meetings. Lauren looked at him. Evan, stop. That was new. Small but new. Ms. Givens explained that reimbursement would not cover everything. Not even close. The policy was modest. After the funeral balance and a portion of expenses, there would be little left to divide. Evan's face tightened. There it is, he said, so we get nothing. I looked at him. You got 3 years. What does that mean? Weekends, vacations, full nights of sleep, time with your family, your career, your health, you got plenty. Ms. Givens went very still. Lauren stared at the table. Evan said, you chose to do all that. No, I said. I chose Mom. I did not choose your absence. The sentence landed cleanly. After the meeting, Lauren followed me to the parking lot. Mara. I turned. She had taken off the sunglasses. Her eyes were red, but there was no audience now, so I trusted the tears a little more. I should have done more, she said. Yes. She flinched. I kept telling myself you were better at it, she said. Like that made it okay. It didn't. I know. A cold wind moved across the parking lot. Lauren wrapped her coat tighter. I don't know how to make this right. Start by not calling yourself her caregiver. She nodded. Start by telling your kids the truth when they ask. She swallowed. Okay. And pay your share of the funeral balance. I will. She did 3 days later. Not half, not enough to rewrite history, but she paid the amount she had promised. Evan did not. Instead, Evan called relatives. He told them I had turned Mom's death into a reimbursement scheme. He said I had isolated her. He said people did not know what happened behind closed doors. He was right about one thing. People did not know. So when Aunt Bate asked if she could tell the truth when people called her, I said yes. Not embellish. Not defend me like I was a child. Just tell the truth. By the second week, the calls slowed. A cousin sent me a message that said, Evan made it sound like you took over everything. I didn't realize taking over meant doing the work. I smiled for the first time in days. Mom's house sold in early spring. It was strange cleaning it out. Grief hides in ordinary places. A grocery list in her handwriting. A sweater with one tissue still in the pocket. The dent in the kitchen wall from the time she lost balance and the walker hit too hard. The sticky note inside the cabinet that said, Mara likes mint tea. I found a box under her bed labeled photos. Sort later. Inside were envelopes, old birthday cards, and a small stack of printed pictures from the last 3 years. Not the ones Lauren posted. Not the smiling ones. Me helping Mom into the car. Me asleep in the recliner with a blanket over my knees. Me kneeling by the hospital bed, adjusting the rail. A blurry picture of my hand holding hers. I sat on the floor and cried in a way I had not cried at the funeral. On top of the photos was a note. Mara, if I forget to say thank you, this is me saying it. It was not dated. Her handwriting was shaky but hers. For a minute, I was angry all over again. Not at her. At time. At illness. At the fact that a person can need so much and still feel guilty for needing it. At how easily daughters are praised for being strong when what people really mean is convenient. Then I put the note in the binder. Not because I needed more proof. Because I needed one page that was not for them. The estate closed quietly. Evan received less than he expected and more than he deserved. Lauren received her share and sent me one more apology, longer this time. She admitted she had used, I can't handle it, as an excuse. She admitted she liked being seen as sensitive while I was treated as capable. She asked if we could have coffee someday. I said, someday maybe, not yet. She said she understood. I believed she wanted to. Evan sent one final message after the house sale. You got what you wanted. I wrote back. No, I wanted help. Then I blocked him for 6 months. Not forever. I did not need a dramatic declaration. I needed quiet. The first Saturday after everything ended, I woke up at 7:00 a.m. in my own apartment with no alarm for medication, no appointment reminder, no fear that the phone would ring because Mom had fallen. I made coffee and stood by the window. For 3 years, silence had meant danger. That morning, silence meant I was allowed to keep living. I did not feel triumphant. I felt emptied out and slowly returning. At noon, I took the gray binder off my desk. I removed the legal documents and placed them in a file box. I kept Mom's note. I kept one photo of us from before she got sick, both of us squinting at the lake sun, her arm around my waist. Then I closed the binder for the last time. People think revenge has to look like destruction. Mine looked like a record. 642 entries. A funeral room that finally heard the truth. A brother who could no longer wear my exhaustion as his reputation. A sister who had to decide whether guilt would become honesty or just another performance. And me, standing in the quiet after years of being the only one left in the room, finally understanding that proof does not heal everything. But it can stop the lie from needing you. I did not ruin my mother's funeral. I only refused to let my family bury the truth with her.